in the last 24 hours, the impression that the president is taking the concerns very seriously and looking at the challenges going forward. And I think that is a very welcome development. So it seems to be heading in that direction, yes.
Do you think they weren't before?
I do not. Certainly in the first week or so after the debate, it seemed like the very clear message was nothing to see here. We're fine. We're moving forward. And then, frankly, that was frustrating to me because I think at a minimum, given where we were at, given the questions that were being raised about the president's health, raised not by me, by the way, by the country, and certainly by the press pool at the White House press briefings, I think they should have taken it more seriously back then. But now I think they are, yes.
So we hear this reporting from the Washington Post about President Obama. We have reporting on what Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are saying privately to Biden. Do they need to come out and say it publicly?
Yeah, I think they're working it quite well. And look, the whole point of this is we want to have a discussion about the issues. I was on a show a little while ago and I was listening to Mike Johnson, to talk about how they care about the deficit. When Donald Trump raised the debt and the deficit more than by any president in any one term in history. We just heard conversation before I came on here talking about immigration, that the point isn't to denigrate immigrants. Donald Trump does nothing but denigrate immigrants. He's called them rapists and murderers. He said that countries send us their worst. He's more than once, wondered aloud why we don't get more immigrants from Norway. Look, we got to have that fight. We got to go back at the messaging here. And that's where we need to get to. And as I've said from the very start, when I came out and said the president should step aside, the reason I'm doing that is I think that debate showed that at this point, President Biden is not the best messenger for our message. It's a good message, got to get it out. And second, we're going to be dogged by questions about his health. It seems, and I have not seen the polling, but it seems like the data is reflecting that.
Yeah.
So however those conversations happen, they need to happen.
So how would this even work? I know I've heard concerns that Republicans might make some legal challenges if there's a ballot change. And it seems like all of these things would need to be figured out before Biden would actually decide to step aside. And yet the process of actually figuring that out likely would become public. And that could obviously be problematic if there are some legal problems with him stepping aside. How does it work?
Yeah, I don't think it's hard at all. I mean, Joe Biden is not the nominee of the Democratic Party. He is the presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party. So how it would work is when our convention happens, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, we would pick a different nominee and he would be nominated that way. You're on the ballot across the country. The Democratic Party is on the ballot. So we can pick our candidate at our convention as we plan to do. You got to move a little money around. There's some different things that have to go into it, but it's really not that difficult. And I'll tell you, the country 3 years now has been asking for a new face, for something different. If we responded to that, I think we would get an incredible boost from that. It would energize the ticket.
I want to ask you, because you said here in a few weeks or 3 or 4 weeks, August 1st is sort of, I wonder how you see that as a bit of a deadline, because there's a planning call tomorrow for the virtual nomination of Biden ahead of the convention. And right now it seems like that could happen as soon as August 1st. I've sort of been likening this to legally getting married before the wedding, right? But that's still obviously a very important date. Is that then actually the deadline as you see it if Biden is considering dropping out?
Not as I see it. We did get that pushed back. They were talking about doing it this weekend, and they now pushed it back to August 1st, which I guess is 13 days away. So there's plenty of time in there. Also, from what I can tell, there's no necessity of doing this virtually before the convention. Now we get into some legal niceties that I confess I haven't examined. But from what I've heard, Ohio, which was the whole reason for doing the virtual thing in the first place, has changed their rules so that we would be able to be on the ballot in Ohio, even if we did it at our convention. I'm not 100% certain of that, but that's my understanding. So I don't think there's a necessity of doing the virtual
So then
thing.
let me ask you that. So should it be scrapped then, Congressman?
Yeah, I mean, there were a number of us in the House who were getting ready to send a letter when they were well, I'm sorry. When you say scrapped, I want to make sure I'm talking about. I think we ought to go ahead and nominate our nominee at the convention like we're supposed to. But if there's lawyers who have a different interpretation, yeah, I guess. But it doesn't seem like that to me. I don't see the necessity of speeding up the process here.
Congressman, thank you so much for being with us. Congressman Adam Smith.
Thanks, Brianna.